All right, so the first preseason game is officially in the books, and if you're an Eagles fan, there's plenty to talk about. Not just from the scoreboard, which ended 34-27 in favor of Philadelphia, but from what we actually saw on the field, from the veterans to the rookies, from the stars to the long shots trying to make the roster. And if you were watching closely, one thing became immediately clear. This team has depth, this team has talent, but this team also has some very real question marks. And let's not dance around it. The most glaring concern right now is that outside cornerback spot opposite Quinyon Mitchell. Now, Mitchell, he's locked in. The rookie out of Toledo is everything the Eagles hoped he'd be so far. Physical, instinctive, fast, and already showing flashes of all-pro potential. But the other side? That's where things get murky. Catrell Clark and Adoree Jackson were supposed to be battling it out, but what we saw in this first outing told us something a bit more alarming. Kelee Ringo, who got plenty of looks in this game, struggled badly. He was matched up early against none other than Ja'Marr Chase. And look, there's no shame in giving up plays to a guy like Chase. We're talking about a top 3 receiver in the NFL, arguably number 1, depending on who you ask. But the problem isn't that Chase made plays, it's how he made them. On that first drive, Ringo gave up a toe tap catch down the sideline. He was right there, good coverage on paper, but great offense beats good defense every time. You can almost live with that if you're the coaching staff. But on the second drive, that's where things got ugly. Chase runs an out route, Ringo bites, overcommits, and completely misses on the tackle. Chase turns it upfield, and it's 6 points, a 36-yard score that looked far too easy. And this isn't new. This has been a story of Ringo all through training camp. Big body, elite athleticism, runs a sub 4.4, but the instincts, the feel, the throttle control and coverage, it's not there yet. And in Vic Fangio's system, that's a problem. This is not a defense where you can just rely on traits. You need technique, anticipation, discipline. So when you see Ringo out there getting beat and looking shaky in space, you start to understand exactly why Howie Roseman went out and made the move for Jacorian Bennett. Now, Bennett didn't play much tonight, but this guy has been productive since entering the league. He's sticky in coverage, he plays physical, and he's gone up against guys like Ja'Marr Chase before and held his own. He's not just a body. He's a real contender for that starting job. You don't give up a quality rotational defensive tackle unless you believe the guy you're getting back can legitimately compete for a role. And make no mistake, Bennett is going to push Ringo hard. As for Adoree Jackson, it wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't great either. There were flashes, yes, but nothing that really jumps out and makes you say, this guy's a lock to start. At this point in his career, Jackson should be a steadying presence, someone who brings reliability and experience to the secondary. But the inconsistency has followed him from Tennessee to New York and now to Philly. And when you're looking at a position battle like this, where nobody's really separating themselves, you start to get concerned. The Eagles are going to be tested early and often. This is not a soft schedule. They've got to face guys like Malik Neighbors, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, and that's just within the division. Step outside the NFC East, and you're still staring down a gauntlet of elite receivers. You need corners who don't just survive. They need to compete. So far, only one of them is doing that, and it's the rookie Mitchell. And look, this isn't just about cornerback. The safety position is another spot where the Eagles look thin. Andrew Makubo was suited up but never saw the field. That's a bit of a head-scratcher. He's a guy you want to evaluate, especially in a game like this. On the other hand, Sidney Brown did start, and he did make some tackles, including one against his own brother Chase Brown, which is always a cool moment. But Sidney Brown is one of those guys who plays with his hair on fire. He's aggressive, he's physical, he's violent, and sometimes that gets him into trouble. There was one particular play where he came in hot, tried to lay the wood, and ended up hurting his shoulder. He's reportedly fine, but it raises the bigger question. Can he stay healthy playing at that speed? And beyond that, can he rein in the aggression enough to be dependable? Fangio's not going to tolerate safeties who blow assignments or miss tackles just because they're trying to make a highlight reel hit. He wants discipline, angles, execution, and right now that's not a strength of Brown's game. So if we're keeping it real here, the two biggest holes on this roster, at least from what we saw in this first game, are at outside cornerback and safety. And that's a tough pill to swallow because everything else, it looks damn good. Let's flip the script now and talk about the positives because there were plenty, starting with Tanner McKee. This guy just keeps balling out every single preseason. Year after year, he shows up, makes throws, and looks like he belongs on an NFL field. And in this game, he was surgical. He started against the Bengals' first-team defense. Yes, the same defense that couldn't stop anyone last year. But don't let that take away from what he did. McKee went 20 for 25, threw for 252 yards, had 2 touchdowns, and no picks. And the eye test matched the stat sheet. Timing, anticipation, touch, especially on those sideline throws and back shoulder balls. He's not just managing the offense, he's attacking. He throws with confidence, moves well in the pocket, and always gives his receivers a chance to make a play. He even threw well on the run, which was a knock on him coming out of Stanford. And here's the crazy part. If you drop McKee onto another roster tomorrow, you can make a real case that he could start. He's that polished. And it's not just based on this game. Remember what he did last year against the Cowboys starters? Or how he looked against the Giants ones in the season finale while working with the Eagles twos. This is not a fluke. The guy can flat out play. And right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better backup quarterback in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is elite, no doubt. But if he were to miss time, McKee gives you a legitimate chance to win. Double-digit games? Very possible. And that's not a knock on Hurts. That's a compliment to McKee. Now, speaking of guys who made the most of their opportunities, we have to talk about Darius Cooper. This undrafted free agent wide receiver out of Tarleton State came into camp under the radar. But if you've been watching practices, you know he's been flashing. Built like a smaller A.J. Brown. Thick frame, compact, strong, and runs in the 4.4s. Cooper had 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown in this game. And it wasn't just the production, it was the way he did it.
Then is Ty Robinson, a 4th-round pick out of Nebraska. Showed the violent hands and fast first step that made him a force in the Big Ten. He recorded a sack, showed up in run defense, and looked like a guy who could carve out a real rotational role. Gab Hall, the undrafted defensive tackle out of Baylor, also flashed, and with Thomas Booker being traded, Hall might be the reason why. He looks quick, disruptive, and ready to contribute. Jacob Sykes, also a Danish tackle for Lausanne, continues to impress after spending the spring in the UFL. And on the offensive line, Tyler Esten got the start at right guard, and the staff gave him a long look. He responded with a beautiful combo block on a Will Shipley run that went for 38 yards. Speaking of Shipley, the rookie running back looked fantastic. Got the start, showed patience, burst, and vision. That's your RB2 right there. Y pause here, because there is still so much to dive into, the offensive coordinator, the rest of the rookie class, the depth at linebacker, and even more standouts from tonight. But if you're an Eagles fan, you've got to be feeling pretty good. Yes, there are questions, especially in the secondary. But the use on this team? It's producing. It's showing up. And that's a very good thing. Now let's talk more about the depth on this roster, especially along the offensive line. One guy who really stood out was Drew Kendall, the 6th-round rookie out of Boston College. He started more than 30 games in college, was an All-ACC selection, and he brings not just experience but real polish for someone just entering the league. In this game, he got the start at center and looked poised. Handled the protections well, showed solid footwork, and didn't look overwhelmed at all. You always look for young interior linemen who can all tear on when everything around them is moving fast, and Kendall passed that test. He looked like a player who could step in and be a reliable backup in Cam Jurgens right away, which is a big deal. You need that next man up in case of injuries on the interior, and with his football IQ and college resume, Kendall might just be that guy. And next to him, at left guard, was Brett Todd, and let's clear this up once and for all, the pronunciation is actually Tal. We've been saying it wrong. But names aside, he did his job, and that interior trio of Esten, Kendall, and Todd gave the Eagles some real positive tape to review this week. And how about Patrick Johnson? This guy used as an act for showing up in the preseason. He had a sack that got called back due to a penalty elsewhere on the field, but he didn't let that stop him. Comes back the next drive, drops into coverage, and snags an interception. Plus like that pop. They stand out when the coaching staff goes back to break down film. Johnson's always been a fringe guy, somewhere between making the roster and sticking on the practice squad, but he makes big plays when it counts, and in a league where depth at edge rusher is gold, performances like this help him make a case. Same thing with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He didn't have a dominant game, but he had moments. Played fast, was active near the line, made a couple of solid reads, and delivered on some tackles. There is still development ahead for him, and you can tell he's adjusting to the speed of the pro game, but the flashes are there. It's instinctual, and that's something you can't really teach. You either see it or you don't, and with Trotter, it's there in spurts. Now, you want to see consistency, but it's a promising start. Ismail Mondon was more of a mixed bag. There were snaps where he flowed well to the football, played with burst, showed athleticism, but there were others where he got caught in traffic or missed his run fits. It's early, though. These preseason games are exactly where guys like Mondon grow. The route traits are clear, now it's about putting it together with game reps and coaching. Here Brown, now it was interesting. On his very first play, he came downhill and finished with some real violence. That's a tone-setting kind of hit. But that edge, that aggression, it can be a double-edged sword. He got flagged for illegal hands to the face later on, and it wiped out what should have been a momentum-changing moment. He also dropped what could have been an interception. And is not alone. Eli Ricks could have had a pick six. Jeremiah Trotter had a ball hit him in the hands. That's at least 3 opportunities for turnovers that slipped away. You never want to nitpick every dropped interception in preseason, but you also want to see guys capitalize when the chance is there. Because in the regular season, those plays are game changers. And with how tight some of these roster battles are, one play might be the difference between making the 53 and getting cut. One guy who had an under-the-radar solid game was Derek Castro Fields. He was targeted 3 times, didn't allow a single catch. And he made a big hit on Tanner Hudson that set the tone defensively. That's the kind of tape you want to put together as a young corner. No flash, no highlight reel, just steady, reliable football. Just taken out of those games, and you earn trust. And let's not forget the coaching staff. Kevin Patullo, now the offensive coordinator, this was his first game calling plays in this role, and he thought he did a really solid job. Sure, the game plan was vanilla, as it should be in a preseason opener. You're not going to show your whole hand. But the flow of the offense, the aggressiveness on certain fourth downs, the way the quarterbacks were allowed to make reads and push the ball, those were encouraging signs. This offense has a lot of talent, and it's going to be on Patullo to bring out the best in all of it. This was a good start. And we've got to give a little love to Sanderick Powell. Not a name that's on many radars, but the 5'8", 180-pound back out of Central Arkansas had a really impressive touchdown run. It was a tight red zone play, not a lot of space, but he executed a little jump cut that completely froze the linebacker, burst through a crease, and found pay dirt. That's an NFL-level move. It's undersized, no doubt, but if you're looking at this running back room and trying to project who might sneak onto the practice squad, Powell just gave himself a chance. Now, not everything was pretty. Miles Hinton, 6th rounder out of Michigan, had a rough stretch. Back-to-back penalties, a false start and a holding call, that's the kind of sequence that gets you pulled in a regular season game. The physical tools are there. It's strong, long, and the moves well enough for a tackle. But if you can't stay clean, you can't stay on the field. Mental mistakes, discipline, those have to improve. And when you're trying to build a Super Bowl caliber roster, this is how you do it. You draft well, you develop well, and you give guys a chance to prove themselves, not just in practice, but under the lights, when the pads are on, and the game is on the line. Tonight, we saw a team that isn't perfect, far from it, but one that's clearly built to compete, and clearly as a foundation worth being excited about. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a shocking turn of events that sent tremors throughout the NFL community, a swirling rumor is gaining traction that could redefine the landscape of the upcoming season. Sources close to the situation, albeit unofficial and highly speculative at this point, suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles might have pulled off one of the most unexpected moves of the offseason. Acquiring German American wide receiver AMON-RA St Brown from the Detroit Lions. While no official confirmation has emerged from either camp, insiders claim that discussions have taken place behind closed doors and that the Eagles' front office has been aggressively pursuing St Brown for weeks. The potential move is already generating intense buzz across sports media platforms, and fans from both Philadelphia and Detroit are flooding forums with speculation. Considering St Brown's recent All-Pro level of play and vital importance to the Lions' offense, such a deal seems unlikely on the surface, yet the NFL is no stranger to hardly grabbing surprises. The Eagles, fresh of a turbulent season marked by inconsistency, make view St Brown as the missing piece to reignite their offense. Whispers of a blockbuster deal involving draft picks and veteran assets have only added fuel to the fire. Still, everything remains a tantalizing maybe. What makes this rumored deal even more intriguing is the player at its center. AMON-RA St Brown, whose name has become synonymous with dependability, fierce competitiveness, and elite route running, has steadily risen to stardom since being drafted in the 4th round by the Lions. His German heritage, California upbringing, and multilingual skills make him a unique personality in the NFL, further enhancing the allure surrounding his potential move. In 2024, he posted career numbers in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, establishing himself as one of the premier wide receivers in the league. The idea of such a valuable asset being moved, especially by a team like Detroit, on the cusp of Super Bowl contention, has left many analysts baffled. Could this be a classic case of smoke without fire, or is there truly something brewing beneath the surface? Reports suggest that the Eagles' front office has long admired St Brown's discipline and professionalism. If a trade were to materialize, it would be seen as a masterstroke by the Eagles' leadership. On the other hand, it would raise serious questions about Detroit's long-term strategy and commitment to surrounding quarterback Jared Goff with top-tier talent. Fans are watching closely, clinging to every league detail. The implications of this rumor go far beyond roster adjustments, they signal a potential shift in power dynamics within the NFC. If the Eagles were to successfully land AMON-RA St Brown, it would not only bolster their receiving corps but send a strong message to divisional rivals like the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants. Pairing St Brown with established talents such as Devonta Smith and AJ Brown would create one of the most formidable trios in the league, giving quarterback Jalen Hurts an arsenal few defenses could hope to contend. However, the cap space gymnastics required to accommodate such a deal, not to mention the assets Philly would likely have to relinquish, make this rumor even more tantalizing. Could the Eagles be prepared to part with a first-round pick or a key defensive starter? Could the Lions be looking to cash in on St Brown's rising stock while reshaping their roster around a younger core? These are the questions now echoing across NFL war rooms and fan circles alike. The NFL has seen stranger things unfold, and with training camp underway, timing could be crucial for both franchises. Whether or not the rumor materializes, the conversation is already changing trajectories. Equally captivating is the cultural angle of this potential move. AMON-RA St Brown represents a rare blend of European roots and American gridiron excellence. Born to a German mother and raised in a multilingual household, his name is already iconic in both the US and abroad. The Eagles, who have long sought to expand their international appeal, might see St Brown as more than just a player, perhaps a marketing cornerstone. With the NFL increasingly targeting global audiences through international games and European outreach, adding one of the few prominent German players could be part of a broader strategy. The rumor has sparked particular interest in German media, where St Brown's profile is already big. Social media posts by Eagles executives hinting at big moves with global reach have only added to the intrigue. If the deal were to go through, it might mark a new era in cross-cultural NFL branding, as much as it would represent a shift in team strategy. St Brown's intelligence, charisma, and marketability make him an ideal face of a franchise looking to reclaim dominance while expanding its global footprint. Nothing is confirmed, but everything about this potential move feels calculated and ambitious. As we await any official statements, speculation continues to run wild. Could this be the work of a rogue insider looking to stir the pot? Or is there a deeper connection between the Eagles and St Brown than we previously realized? The timing of this rumor is suspiciously aligned with the preseason's media frenzy, which often brings with it exaggerated tales and inflated expectations. Yet, something about this one feels different. The details, the sources, the sudden surge in betting markets regarding Eagles' offensive stats, all hint at more than just a baseless whisper. While it's entirely possible this supposed trade talk fizzles out into nothingness, it has already had a tangible impact. Eagles fans are dreaming of a dynamic, unstoppable offense. Lions fans are bracing for heartbreak. And analysts are scrambling to make sense of it all. As is often the case in the NFL, perception can be as powerful as reality. Whether or not AMON-RA St Brown dons the green and white this season, this rumor has succeeded in igniting the imagination of fans and reshaping off-season conversations. One thing is certain, the league is watching, and if the Eagles truly pull this off, it could be one of the boldest coups in recent memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.